Mayapur, ask Raleigh to keep his voice down. Thanks everyone for coming out. One more Sunday night, 37 years gathering for the Sunday Love Feast, Love of God. This is our email address for comments, correspondence, and feedback. This is our website as well for more information. Everything is inspired by the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder and chair of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Om Bhagavate Vedantasa, Yamanasa, Chaksuram Meditam Yena Tasmai, Shri Guru Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Lovisam, Sapitam Yena Bhutare, Swayam Bhagavadayam Garati Swaparatikam. Our title today is Standing in Faith. We all go through seasons of life where things are difficult. We're going to find that out of nowhere, an unexpected wind of change erupts. We didn't see it coming. We got diagnosed with an illness. Our child is in trouble. Pandemic hits. Our business slows down. When these winds of change, of disruption, of turbulence enter into our lives, we wonder, how did this happen? We get discouraged. But our message today is a Krishna, which is our name for God. He doesn't stop every difficulty. God will allow challenges in order to move us into our purpose. You pass the test. On the other side of that difficulty is a new level of your destiny. Similarly, you can't become who you were created to be without going through some of these hot winds of life. Now, how you respond in these difficult times is going to determine whether you come out bitter or whether you come out better. That was good, right? Times when you feel overwhelmed, you're doing the right thing, but the situation's not improving, you're praying, you're going to the temple, but it just seems like God took a break, He went on vacation. You lost that loved one, you just don't see how you can make it through. That's not a random challenge. It's not just bad luck. It's a hot wind blowing. Krishna or God is seeing what it is that you're made of, how deep your roots of faith go down. Are you going to respond by living sour, bitter, discouraged? Or are you going to dig down deep and say, I may not understand it, but God, I trust that you're in total control. I know that you're bigger than what I'm facing, that your plans for me are for good and not evil, and I believe that if I keep a smile on my face and a good attitude, no matter what's going on around me, that you will get me to where I'm supposed to go. The first principle is duties have to be done. You cannot shirk or abandon your duty because of some temporary suffering or inconvenience. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna was hesitant to fight his teachers, his friends, and relatives. They were in the wrong. They were part of a criminal conspiracy. They needed to be curbed for the well-being and peace of the world all around. But still, because he had that bodily connection with them, Arjuna was hesitant. He was giving so many arguments about why it would be better him or not to fight than to fight. And basically, Krishna says to him in 700 words, my friend, you have to do your duty. The outcome of the battle is preordained. God is a friend of Arjuna. He's a chariot driver. He's also in the hearts of every living being. That person who's standing in the chariot with Arjuna is the beginning, the middle, and end. Later on in the 11th chapter, he shows Arjuna his universal form, and he shows all the soldiers on the other side running into his mouth, being devoured by his feature of time. So the battle of the outcome of the battle is not in question. The bad guys are not going home. But still, Krishna doesn't say to Arjuna, Arjuna, I'll do everything. You just have a nap. And when you wake up, the whole world will be readjusted. That's not the message of the Bhagavad Gita. In spite of the outcome being preordained, by none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna still says to Arjuna, you have to do it. You have to be an instrument in the fight. They're already killed, it's true, by my arrangement. They're not going home, but still, that does not let you off the hook. You have your duty, and you have to do it, irrespective of your bodily connection. Do it not for family, do it not for country, do it for me, for your Creator. Trust that I have the bigger vision, that I know what's the best. Another subtext there is, don't be too morose, as Arjuna started out being in the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, poor me, why did this happen to my family? Why do I have to do this? Nor be overly jubilant in life. Success is found somewhere between depression and manic. If we're God conscious, we do believe that ultimately everything is being done by Krishna, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do our duties as his instrument, irregardless of whether the outcome is good for us or bad for us, whether it brings us honor or dishonor, suffering or pleasure. That doesn't matter. What matters is the service. We have to be determined to serve at all costs, not being moved or discouraged by what's not fair, not getting bitter over who did you wrong, not living discouraged because of a bad break, a delay, an unexpected challenge. You may be in a hot wind in your life right now, dealing with an issue, maybe in your family or at the office. That co-worker is leaving you out, getting on your nerves, not once, over and over again. It's been going on for weeks, even months. Now, if your roots don't go down deep, if you live shallow, it's going to frustrate you. You're going to spend all your time trying to figure out how to pay them back, getting stuck right where you are. Our message is that difficulty is not there to defeat you, it's there to promote you. If you pass a test, keep doing the right thing, keep being good to people even when they're not being good to you, letting Krishna, God, fight your battles, because your roots go down deep. Krishna will not only turn that situation around, but he'll bring you out better off than you were before. And sure, it may take longer than you thought. At first, you were all fired up and determined. You stood strong, but now you just kind of, erosion is taking place. Atrophy, you're tired. Thoughts are starting to tell you, it's never going to work out. I'll never get well. My relationship will never change. My family will never be restored. These are lies. These are lies because whatever you're going through, it didn't come to stay, it came to pass. It's temporary. God has already set an end to the difficulty. God did not bring you this far to leave you. What he started, he's going to finish. You have to do your part. Dig down deep. Keep passing the tests. Keep thanking him that it's on the way. Keep believing even when you don't see any sign of it. Stay in this attitude of faith. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, true, I don't understand why this happened. I was doing my best. Why did this unexpected wind come into my life? Why did I come down with this illness? Why did these people turn on me? You want my profound answer to these questions?
Yes.
It's just life. It's just life. Being a person of faith doesn't give you a waiver. It doesn't give you an exemption from difficulty. These tests come to us all. If you're a devotee, if you believe in God, how you respond? You put on the armor of God. So in the evil day, you'll be able to stand strong. He didn't say in case you have an evil day, or maybe someday you'll have some trouble. It is said, put the armor on, so in the evil day, which is inevitably going to come, you're going to have hot winds, you're going to have things in life that can knock the zest out of you, threaten your joy, tempt you to give up on your dreams. And when you have everything happen to you and everything done to you that you could possibly imagine, there's only one response. Stand in faith. Stand in faith. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to make things happen. You don't have to worry. Just stand in the face of those hot winds of opposition. Stand when every internal voice is telling you it's not going to work out. Stand when the medical report is not changing. Stand when your finances are not improving. Stand when your child isn't making good decisions. To stand means you're not moved by what's not changing. You're not complaining because it's taken too long. You're not bitter because you had a setback. You're not frustrated because your plans didn't work out. Rather, you are steadfast, immovable, unshakable. Your roots go down deep. That's what it means to stand. Stand believing, stand trusting, stand hoping, stand expecting. If you'll stand immobile, unshakable, then you will be unstoppable. Those hot winds cannot keep you from your destiny. Rather, they will launch the faithful person into their higher purpose. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna God is not necessarily looking for people who have great talents, great abilities. He's looking for people who will what? Stand. One person's listening. Stand in the middle of troubles. Not bitter, not discouraged, but standing with an attitude of faith. Yes, when the problem is not turning around. When it's taking longer than you thought. When your heart is breaking. When the bottom fell out. Here's a newsflash. God never said that you wouldn't have bad days. He never said you wouldn't have seasons of trouble. But he did say that if you'll just stand, he'll bring you out. If he'll defeat your enemies. If he'll give you beauty for ashes. If joy is coming in the morning. The enemies you see today, you'll see no more. Don't let the hot winds cause you to wilt, thinking that God's not for you. Well, I must have done something wrong. No, you probably did something right. That's why the enemy's trying to stop you. Thought you would fall apart, get bitter, blame God. But what the enemy didn't realize is that you know how to stand. You're not moved by the hot winds. You're not worried about the medical report. You're not frustrated over how long it's been. You are steadfast. You're immovable. Can I tell you something? All the powers of darkness in the world, they cannot defeat a standard. I don't know if that word's in the dictionary. I just might have just made it up in this spot. But you know what I'm saying, right? A standard. It can't defeat you when you stand in praise. When you thank God, even when it's not working out. When you stand in excellence. You keep being your best in the middle of the trouble. Stand in faith. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You could be bitter, but still you believe that God's working against all the evidence to the contrary. You still expect things to change. You still have your hopes up, knowing one phone call, one knock on the door, one email could turn things around today. You're not being asked to have great ability. You're not being asked to figure out the solution. You're just being asked to stand. Stand unmoved by what you're up against. Stand with your eyes on Krishna, God, who created the universe, knowing that he has the final say. He's working behind the scenes, and what he promised will come to pass. So take inventory. Are you in hot winds right now in your life? Facing difficulties that seem too big? You never dreamed you'd have to stand against this sickness. Never thought that your marriage would be in trouble. Never thought that the company would be able to do without you after 15 years of faithful service. God's saying, stand. Do the only thing you can do is stand in faith, because it's not a surprise to God. Whatever it was, he has a purpose for it, and he also has the solution. He's already lined up the right people. The healing, the promotion, the breakthroughs, they're already en route. So here's what I've learned. I know that God is on my side, not not by the hot winds that he didn't bring into his life, not by the hot winds that he stopped, but I know that God's in my life by the hot winds that didn't stop me. You can't judge God's favor by the presence of hot winds that he kept you out of. Rather, you judge favors by the hot winds that he brought you through. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Scripture says you'll go through the fire, but you won't be burned. You'll go through the waters, but you won't be drowned. You'll go through the famine, but you won't be hungry. So don't get discouraged about what God is bringing you through. He would not allow you to have gotten into a difficulty that he didn't know in advance how to get you out of it. You just have to do your part and stand. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And it's true to say, once in a while, he will actually keep you out of the fire in the first place. But it's far more often the case that he'll put you into the fire, and in doing so, if you keep standing in faith, you'll be fireproof. You'll be fireproof. Right now in your life, you might be feeling those hot winds. You might be feeling the licking of the flames. So you need to remind yourself, maybe God brought your steps here today. You thought it was because of a world religion assignment at BYU. God actually brought you here to tell you, to remind you that heat can't harm you if you put on the armor of faith in God. That trouble can't take you out if you put on your armor of faith in God. That people can't stop what God has ordained for your life. It's just a test. So ask yourself, are you going to stand despite the opposition? Are you going to stay in faith despite things not working out? Are you going to keep believing even though you've had setbacks? In the Srimed Bhagavatam, we find the story of a 5-year-old boy. His name was Prahlad Maharaj, and his father, Hiranya Kashipu, whose name means gold and soft bed, so you know what his priorities were. The great atheistic, and he resented the heck out of his son, glorified Krishna. So I wrote a song about this for our radio station, KHKRED 1480. You can also get it all over the world if you download a simple radio app on your phone. You guys ready for this? Yes. 79-year-old rapper. In ancient lore, we are told the story of a 5-year-old boy named Prahlad. His faith in Krishna was pure and bold, ignited within the womb. His love shone like the moon. Krishna's chants filled his soul, even though his father's rage viciously unfolded. His father, Hiranya Kashipu, a demon king, demanded worship and creed that everyone his praises sing. But Prahlad's heart yearned to be free. His father used threats and torments to break his son, his spirit to destroy. No poison trampled, thrown in the ocean, Prahlad's devotion remained unbroken. Through every trial, Prahlad held fast the Lord protecting him. He passed every test, even holy for the demoness of fire. Herself was burned on a flaming pyre. To kill the demon, the Lord emerged from a pillar with a mighty roar. Narashanga, half man, half lion, tore the demon apart. Prahlad pleaded to the Lord with a tear in his eye, Lord, please hear my cry. But my father was blinded by pride, consumed by hatred, break into his darkness like mercy for God. Prahlad's devotion conquered all. The Lord made an exception of his father, and from his broken body offered redemption for the soul. May the story of Prahlad be forever told. His faith was untamed, despite the demon king's rage. Devotion was his armor, come what may. Krishna's names never left his lips. May the fame of those who proclaim the glories of the Lord live forevermore. I say Hari, you say Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Hari, Krishna. I say Krishna, you say Krishna, 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 Krishna. I say Hari, you say Hari, Hari, Hari. I say Hari, you say Rama, Hari, Hari. I say Rama, you say Rama, Rama, Rama. I say Hari, you say Hari, Hari. Good. When your roots go down deep, Krishna or God will make things happen that you couldn't make happen on your own. You'll defeat giants that are much bigger, accomplish dreams that seem impossible. There are times in our lives when we all get, so to speak, thrown into the furnace. We're praying, Krishna, please keep me out of the fire, keep me out of the trouble, keep me free from sickness. But here's the key. You don't really have to care about whether those things come into your life or not, because God controls the thermostat. He will not get those flames. He'll not let them get too hot for you. He knows how to turn up the heat just up to the point you can stand, but not more than that. It might feel like it's too much, but that's because He's made you stronger than you think you are. He's helping you to find out, to push back the limits that you'd previously settled on. God wants you to know that your destiny and your ability to pursue that and your determination and strength to achieve that is greater than you think. You have everything you need to fulfill your destiny. And in order to thrust you forward, God brings the hot winds of turbulence to prepare yourself for things much bigger and better in your life. Favor, influence, opportunity, things that you've never seen. We just have to not wilt in the trouble. Dig down deep. It's not too much for you. You can handle it. You've been armed with great strength. For every battle, you're full of can-do power. The forces that are for you are greater than those that are against you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, our spiritual master, said these words: faith means that you're meant for giving some service to Krishna God. You should stick to that service, that path, in spite of all impediments. That's the passing of the test. There may be tests, but we should remain determined. There may be so many impediments, challenges. These are tests, not that as soon as there's some difficulty, I give it up. There may be severe tests, but we shall not give it up. We should go on. That is determination. None of us like those hot winds. It would be just so much easier if everything fell into place. We never had anything coming against us. But without those times of testing, when you have to resist the urge to quit, when you have to stretch your faith and believe that God is in control, then we wouldn't become who we were created to be. Short story. In the foothills of the Himalayas, there were 2 cedar saplings planted at the same time. First was planted by a wealthy merchant in his private walled garden. Walls were high, made of polished stone, designed to keep out the dust and the biting gales of those high altitudes. This cedar grew up in a state of perpetual calm, had nutrient-rich soil, steady supply of water, and because it never had to fight for its place, it shot upward with incredible speed. Within a few years, it was the tallest thing in the garden. Its needles were a vibrant, soft green. The merchant bragged that his tree was a marvel of nature, unblemished by the scars of the world. The second cedar sapling was planted by a local shepherd at the same time on a jagged, exposed ridge further up the mountains. No walls. From the day one that its needles broke the soil, it was buffeted by the brisk north wind, forced to lean, to twist, to grip that rocky earth with a desperate grasp that the garden tree never experienced. The bark on this hillside sapling grew thick and corked. Its branches were gnarled rather than straight. To a casual observer, it looked stunted, stressed compared to its cousin in the valley. Now, one autumn, a massive windstorm erupted, kind that only comes once in a decade, swept through the region, didn't care about garden walls. In that merchant's garden, the wind reached the tall cedar. That tree had no stubborn faith in its own roots because it had never been put to the test. Grown a massive, heavy canopy of foliage, but possessed a trunk that was insubstantial and weak. The first gale hit, and you know it, you guessed it, the tree didn't even bend, just snapped right off its base, crashing, in fact, through the merchant's roof. It had reached its full height, but it had no foundation to hold it there. Now on the high ridge, the shepherd's tree was pushed nearly horizontal to the ground. The wind screamed through its needles, trying to tear it from the stone. But for years, every breeze that had come by had signaled the tree to send its roots deeper and deeper into the cracks of the mountain. Every gust had signaled the cells in its trunk to densify, creating stress wood that was hard as iron. When the storm passed, the ridged cedar, you guessed it, was still there. Missing a few needles, yeah, perhaps a little bit more even crooked than before, but it stood firm. It had survived because it spent its whole life practicing for the storm. The lesson of the mountain cedar is that its adversity was not an interruption to its growth. It was a requirement for it. Now, we often pray for the dome, for the shelter, for the walls. A life without conflict, a life without grief, or any resistance. But imagine a life without any stress, without any challenges. You'll get to a point where you're going to collapse under the weight of your comfort, the weight of your success, and you're going to lose it at the first boot, the first hint of trouble. From a spiritual sense, the hard winds of life, disappointments, delays, and hardships are what force our faith to grow reaction wood, hard as iron, compel us to drive our roots deeper and deeper into our core convictions. Stubborn faith is developed in the dark, underground moments where no one sees the struggle. It's the invisible work of holding on in a hostile environment. Fact is that without the wind, the tree is just a tall, fragile ornament. With the wind, the tree becomes a landmark. So when you have the right perspective, which we're talking about, you won't just get discouraged when you face challenges. God could have given you a life with no difficulties, no opposition. You could have grown fast, but you would not have the strength to get to where He wants you to go. Those hot winds have been preparing you. Every day you stand, your roots are getting stronger. Every time you praise when you could complain, you're moving forward. Every time you do the right thing when the wrong thing is happening, your core is getting strengthened to carry the weight of the blessings, the weight of the influence, the weight of the anointing that God has in store for you. Last little point here. When an airplane takes off, it takes off not with the wind. It takes off against the wind. The airplane needs the resistance of the wind coming against it to give it lift off. So ask yourself, are you complaining about the winds coming against you in your life, when in fact what you're complaining about is exactly what God is using to take you to the next level of your destiny? That challenge may look like it's trying to stop you, but really it's there to promote you. So our conclusion is, don't get discouraged in the hot winds of testing. That simply tells you that you're about to lift off. You're about to see things that you've never seen, go places you've never gone. Just pass the test, keep standing, keep doing the right thing. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When you're in those dark moments, remind yourself that difficulty is not the end. It's leading you to a rejuvenation, to a new beginning, to something that you've never seen. So just don't give up in the dark moment. Don't quit believing in the dark moment. Don't stop doing the right thing in the dark moment. You may feel that God's forgotten about you, but here's the key. And you're students, so you should be able to relate to this. Is it not a fact that during the test, the teacher is silent? Am I right?
Yeah.
So you don't hear anything in your difficulty. You don't see anything improving. You might be wondering, is God aware of this? Is God taking a break? But you have to know that in the dark moments is when God has you most in the palm of his hands. The dark moments are when he is most in control. He knows it's difficult. He knows you feel overwhelmed. He knows you don't think you can go on. But don't worry. Help is on the way. They said, weeping endures for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Keep standing, day at a time. Don't worry about tomorrow. Take care of today. God didn't give you grace for tomorrow, but he gave you the strength to stand today. And when you get to tomorrow, he'll give you the grace for another day. A devotee once said, the suffering of this present time does not compare to the glory that's coming. If you could see what God has in mind, the promotion, the favor, the influence, you wouldn't complain in the dark moments. You would endure just a little bit longer. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Keep standing, keep honoring God, keep being good to people. If you've done that, you're on notice. Things are about to change in your favor. The light's about to come bursting in. It's going to happen suddenly. Just as that challenge came unexpectedly, Krishna, God's favor, is going to shower onto you unexpectedly. If you've passed the test and kept God first place in your life by chanting his holy names with faith and consistency, I predict that your life is coming into its best season. I predict that the darkness is about to lift, the hot winds are about to subside, the clouds of abundance are about to open up, blessings are about to pour down, healing, promotion, peace, joy, all the fruits of the Spirit are coming your way in this life, and in the next life, you'll go back to home, back to God. Any of that resonated with you? You're invited to raise your arms and all say it together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for your kind attention. Now we'll have Agni Dev sing some of the mantra while we perform the ceremony that's traditionally held in Indian temples since thousands of years. Please stand up and take the opportunity to stretch it. Join us in the front, don't just hang back. Isolate up here. Love to have your company.
go.